Being a bishop means that you're there not just to work with the people of the church, but actually to be outward looking. Being a bishop is about being a leader in mission. So it's about helping to live the story and tell the story of faith and the fact that God loves the world to those who don't yet know that. I grew up in a Christian family, and so I always went to church from being a few days old. It wasn't an Anglican church, it was what we call a nonconformist one that's independent and evangelical in its outlook. And I suppose it was something that I always knew as part of my family heritage. But when I got to the age of 10, I think it was, I was taking part in a camp for children and young people. I had to go because my mum was doing the cooking. and it was at that point, I think, that I was challenged in hearing somebody else tell their story of faith, that actually I had a choice. I could choose to make this faith something of my own and not just my parents. And I can remember making that decision quite deliberately at that point. And then along the way, as I got older, at 14, I decided I wanted to make that very public and was baptised by immersion. And then at the age of 15, I remember feeling a real distinct call to giving my life in a practical way through what I was going to become as I grew up, to serve God. At that time, I had no role models of women in ministry. That wasn't part of my experience in church. So I thought perhaps that might mean becoming a missionary overseas somewhere. It's fairly recent that we've had women bishops in the church. It was only in January of 2015 that we had our first woman bishop in the Church of England. I was the 5th one appointed last year, and I was consecrated bishop in St Paul's Cathedral in London at the end of September and began my work here at the beginning of October. It's interesting, I was at a church on Sunday where a woman came up to me and said, it's just so good to see a woman bishop there at the front. They're so used to having men in that role, to actually see women taking that sort of position of leadership is very significant, particularly to women. Men don't always know what to call me. They'll often say, you know, I know we should address a male bishop as my Lord Bishop. Do I call you lady? No, you don't. You call me Ruth. That's my name. But for women particularly, they almost want to get hold of you, hold your hands, give you a hug or a kiss, because it's quite an emotional moment for them. And I hadn't really taken that on board when I first became bishop, that actually that was so significant for some. But as I look back over my life, there have always been inspiring women. I can think back to, as a child at primary school, a particular girl called Jane, who was a friend, who just inspired me in the way she was such a loyal person, such a caring person, and just seemed to have time for people and love for people and was forgiving, and all those things that you aspire to be like I saw in her.